form-based code is an alternative sort of land use regulation for making sure that communities are walkable. It's an alternative to conventional zoning codes, which tend to require sprawl. And it's a way that communities, towns, and cities can regulate development in their town to make sure that it's the type of walkable, sustainable place that they want.
What we found in our practice and what a lot of communities are discovering is that walkable communities, downtowns, historic neighborhoods, that type of pattern that defines their communities is illegal to replicate, and has also made it very difficult for these traditional components of a community to revitalize themselves. And so we found it a necessary component to create walkable communities, and as well as to revive and restore the parts of communities that people relate to.
So we have the city of Hercules, California. It's about 20 miles north of Berkeley in San Francisco. Had its first form-based code instituted in 2000, so it's been about almost 9 years now. And they have changed the way that their community is built. They're no longer a sprawling suburb, which is what they were before, but they now have wonderful walkable neighborhoods. Residences there love it, rave about it. Property values have skyrocketed and continued to stay high even in light of recent economic changes. And development is continuing to happen. We're working on a new waterfront development that will have a waterfront ferry and Amtrak station and a new Main Street area. And it has all been done to date under a form-based code, which was written by Dover Cole, but which we were town architect to administer.
The relationship between the urban to rural transect in a form-based code is we talk about different organizing principles for the form-based code, and in the book we define the transect as one of the organizing principles for the code, but there's also street types, frontage types, and what we call a modified transect. And we found that a large majority of form-based code practitioners integrate the transect into their methodology, but there's different ways, whether it be applied directly or more indirectly into the ultimate application of the form-based code. But it ultimately creates a hierarchy of places that are necessary to create the walkable urbanism that we're all trying to create.
You know, we've actually found that across the country, people are turning back toward walkable neighborhoods for a whole variety of reasons. Whether it's they want to preserve the small town character they have, they want to preserve the farmland around surrounding their town, they want to reduce carbon emissions and be more sustainable. They just want to be a better community and be able to be diverse socially and economically. But for all of these different reasons, the communities need a tool to make sure that that happens.
I think 2 points about form-based codes that I would make would be that the first one is that people should not be intimidated by them and should, we get a lot of questions about how can we do this in our community. It doesn't seem like it applies, but I think this is applicable in every community, but you can really take it in small bites in terms of, I said in a presentation recently at the California APA conference about the application at a citywide scale is cities should just pick one or two really tangible locations, and the first places we usually see where this can be most effective is in existing neighborhoods where there are small neighborhood centers, sort of neighborhood main streets that either need the assistance of the form-based codes in terms of replacing zoning to help it evolve or transform itself to create these compact walkable neighborhoods. So we say if you're going to do one thing to your citywide code, start with these neighborhood main streets and make sure that they can thrive and evolve and even transform themselves in some instances. And the second point is what we're finding. There's a lot of really great studies out there now that are relating compact development or new urbanism, walkable urbanism to greenhouse, the need basically to vehicle miles traveled in terms of reducing vehicle miles traveled, and ultimately to get to this compact development pattern that will reduce the vehicle miles traveled and ultimately reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. That zoning reform is necessary, and that form-based codes have proven to be the effective tool in replacing that zoning to get us to this new urbanist or compact development pattern, and that it's a really critical tool in terms of sustainability at this point.